Look at that. I did the dishes. Except I, look left and right and it just continues. They breed. It's just how it is. Um, so I just got this inspiration to just keep doing these videos now. So you'll see all kinds of stuff through my life that I've always been like, this is so interesting. And I know people want to see this, but it's just kind of like finding that motivation. And, do I have makeup on, or do I, what the heck do I look like that day? And it's just, I just keep making excuses pretty much, right? So I started today that I'm just gonna make videos, and I think they're useful. I think it's good for, gosh darn it, I've got things to share. Anyways, so this is one of my favorite things I do. This is actually gnocchi I put in there, and I just put some water and chicken bouillon cubes, and then put some garlic in there with some parsley, and I'm just boiling it for about like 2-3 minutes or something like that, just to soften them a little bit. Maybe cook it for about 5 minutes actually. Make sure that it really absorbs that salt, because as you know, gnocchi is made out of flour and potato. So whenever you cook with potato, it always soaks up a lot of salt, and you think like, oh, there's plenty of salt in here. No, honey, put more. Just put more. It's just like, that's just the way potatoes are. So anyways, and so I'm going to do that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to saute some sausage, brown that, and then I'm going to make like a white sauce out of like a roux and milk, and flavor that. I'll put whatever flavors in there, and I'll probably add the fat from this, and make that sauce, and then put the gnocchi and the sausage and the sauce over it, and then put some cheddar cheese on top, and that's what we're gonna have for lunch today. I might cook some veggies. We'll see. Let me just pause it for a second. All right, so I've saved the this is the chicken broth stuff, and then I took the gnocchi out. It's done cooking. All right, we'll see you for that. Hey, so while that's browning, I'm gonna take a second and cut this onion. Now this knife needs to be sharpened, but I'm just gonna do it all dangerous like today. But I just wanted to show you how I do an onion. So first you cut that the end off so you can actually balance the thing, and then get a good angle or whatever. What am I saying? You want to get this off so you can do this, and then you can cut it, and then you can start and do this. Just, okay, bear with me here. So I'm doing 1, 2, and there's some people put like a bunch more, like I've seen them put like 4. I guess it just depends on the how small you want the cuts, but that's what I do. I put the knife all the way through to the end like that, and then I stop right there, and then just, I'm going to rock the knife, try to keep it on there, and hold it right here, because that's more, keeps it more steady. And you can see like the knife is catching a little bit. I don't know if you can see that or not. It just needs to be sharpened. All I have right now is like one of those ones that, it's not a sharpener, it's like a honing stick. That's all I have, and I need to buy a sharpener. A honing stick is not the same thing as a sharpener. But okay, there's my onions for the thing. Oh, well, I do have to put the other one as well, but you don't have to see that there. I wanted to show you, so that's how much fat really cooked off of the sausage. It wasn't too fatty. But normally when you start a roux, you put butter and oil butter and oil, and you have to have oil because it has a hold on, Anderson. It has a higher heat point or whatever, so it won't burn the butter. So I just did a since I don't need butter. The sausage is already a type of fat. I just need I need some olive oil. So pretty. It smells so good in here. Hold on just a second. We've got a carrot tragedy that my son apparently just can't do without a carrot at this moment. So I added some garlic, minced garlic in there. And I'll just saute this so it's nice and the onions are a little bit translucent. Alrighty, so the onions look beautiful. So now to make a roux, I'm going to put some flour. I'll probably put about 2 tablespoons. With my fork. Look, I was fancy. I've been cooking for so long. Tablespoon, measuring tablespoon. I don't need that mess. I just know. But anyway, so it just, it looks like this. So it's soaking up all that fat and it's getting on all the onions. And you just brown this for a little bit. And that's what really gives a nice, beautiful, deep flavor that you're just like, what is that in the back of my tongue? What is that beautiful flavor? And this is what does that. It, when you brown this flour and the onions and everything, it just, you'll see, it's beautiful. Alright, so it's nice and browned, and now what I'm going to do is add whipping cream. Now you can really use any type of cream in here. Whipping cream, all whipping cream is going to do is just make it a lot thicker. But you can add half and half. You can add whole milk, and you just have to compensate for that. So the whole milk is going to be a little bit thinner, and all you do is just don't add as much of the broth when you add it in. So this one, you can see it's like super thick and creamy. So all I'm going to do is add this broth into here. It's going to give it a nice salt and also allow it to not be as thick. It'll thicken up again, and so you'll see that. But you see how nice and thick that is coming off the bottom of the pan. Okay. So, yep, let me take this and pour this right in there. Beautiful. First party. Let me just mix it up. So the gnocchi is going to soak up a little bit of this liquid, and then it'll also get a little bit thinner than this once it heats back up again. I mean, not thinner, it'll get thicker than this when it heats back up again. But right now you add your spices. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to taste this, because remember this had salt, and then you're going to have salt in here in the sausage, and then you're also going to have salt that went into the gnocchi when I cooked it. So it's really important that you actually undersalt this. This has to be undersalted. So I'm going to, it has to have a little bit of something, because, we can't be, pulling a white lady and just not having enough flavor in there. So, I add pepper, and I'm probably going to add just a little bit of garlic powder. Welcome to my mess here. Just a little bit of onion powder. Do not add garlic salt. Because you're gonna overdo it, sis. Okay? And I'll taste this in a few minutes, because you have to actually give it time to, you have to give the powder time to soak up the liquid. It's dried, obviously, so it's got to soak up the liquid, and the pepper has to soak up the liquid again, and start leaking out some flavors. You can kind of see, can you see that it's just a little bit thicker than it was? And that's what we're looking for. That is beautiful. So I'll actually, it kind of looks like I'll need to add just the rest of this and to create a big bath for this stuff when I go to put it in. So while that's coming to boil, I have to, I'm going to turn on the oven. So, you know, I don't have a recipe. This is just some mess that I make up. And really, if you start anything at 400, like if you put anything at 400, that's like the safest temperature to go to. You know, don't go higher or lower. Lower, you can undercook things and stuff, but you know, but for bakes, I suppose that's the best thing to say is like anything that is baked like this, like some casserole thing, 400 is a good temperature. That way the cheese will get nice and brown on top, but not too fast, and you know, it'll allow it time to come together. So I'm going to let that cook for just a few minutes and then give it a nice little taste. Here we are, we're going to taste. And the reason we're tasting before we put in the sausage, and I suppose you could put the sausage in, is so that, woo, Lord have mercy. Good flavor. Too much salt. So what we can do at this point, because you're like, oh no, I messed it up. So what you do is you just very simply, you add some water. And then you're like, oh no, now it's too thin. Well, very simply, you add some flour. Actually, what I'm gonna do, let's turn this down. What I'm gonna do is take, I can't find my little bowls. I'm gonna take this right here, and I'm gonna put water in this, because I don't know if you know that if you put flour directly into something hot, it will actually ball up, and you just get clumps of flour. So you want to put things, you want to put the flour, you want to dilute the flour or mix it into water before you put it in there. And I'm just adding quite a bit because it is a little bit thinner. Let me just double check it. Yeah, see, it's a little bit thin, so we know we just need more flour, and then it's just got a little too much salt. So we just, I just added 3 tablespoons-ish of flour. There we go. And then, see, no clumps, and then when you pour it right in there, it doesn't matter. There we go. So now that is a little bit thicker. So you just, you know, you're cooking without a recipe, and that's super important. Look at that. Look how thick that is now. So I may have overdone it with the flour. Because again, this is exactly what it's like to cook without a recipe. You just got to play, and it's really not that big a deal. And you know what? The more goop that's in this bake, the better, honestly. It's going to be nice and just, you want it real sloppy and greasy. It makes it good. So it's not too bad. Let me just taste it now. So it should be a little less salty. Lovely. Oh, I'm so sad y'all can't taste this. It is so good. Still gonna add a little more water. It is so good. Like, it's on the edge of just absolutely perfect. So I just put in a little bit of water. Beautiful texture. Look at that. It's gonna go lovely on there. Okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my layering. I'll just show you like a little bit of layering. So I'm going to take my little gnocchi and just, ouch, it's kind of hot. So I'm going to throw just a little bit here. I'll just show you one layer that I do. And then I'm going to take my sausage, oops, and just kind of do that. This is hard to do. Maybe one day I'll be all techie like all the other YouTubers. Oops, and then I'm gonna, hold on, crazy fingers, that did not go well. And then I'm going to take some cheese and just do a little bit of that. And then I'm gonna take my beautiful, beautiful sauce. Look how party-hurry-ish. I'm just gonna do that a little bit. And you're like, wow, that's really not enough Nydia brown. But the thing is that when it's cooking in the oven, it'll all meld together, each layer. So now I'm just putting another layer of gnocchi and another layer of sausage. It's really just not a big deal. You're like, well, that's not an even layer. It's not. It's just, it doesn't matter. Let me tell you something. Isn't that beautiful? And then some more sauce. All right, we'll come back when I've completely covered it and got them all in there. Alrighty, so here's like the finished, really pretty layering. And you know what? I think while I was gooping it in there, again, just too much flour. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of water. It's really not, it's not gonna do too much. It's gonna just give it a more creamy texture is really all it's going to do, because when you're cooking, if you put too much flour, it'll just it'll be too stiff, and you want it to come out of there when you scoop it and just be like this dripping yummy mess. So I'm just adding a little bit more. And again, this is just how it is when you're cooking without a recipe. I've done this long enough to know what the flour is going to do in there. So anyways, I've just added a little bit of water, and when it's cooking, it'll just boil together and be beautiful. And I wish I had more cheese. I ran out. Normally I would just cover the entire thing with cheese. There would be you wouldn't see in between here, but it's okay. It'll come out beautiful. And then when it's done, I'll take a couple snips of this and sprinkle it on top. It's gonna be gorgeous. And so anyways, that's one of our favorite dishes that I make, and it's really easy and very quick. And I'll put a picture in the comments of the end result, because it's gonna take, I'll put this in, like I said, 400 degrees, and I'll probably put it in there for about 20 to 25 minutes, depending on what it looks like. And if it's boiling in the center, you want the little bubbles coming up. So anyways, love you guys. Bye.